Jerusalem is one of the world's most famous cities, sacred to more than 3 billion Jews, Christians and Muslims.
Jerusalem is a heart for us, and without the heart, you cannot live.
But over the last 3,000 years, it has seen more conflict, more turmoil, more bloodshed than almost anywhere else on earth.
It will blow up. I don't know when, but it will.
In 1948, when modern Israel was founded, Jerusalem became a divided city between Israel and Jordan, between Jew and Arab.
Is there hope? Can you see hope?
No. No hope.
19 years later, in 1967, the whole city fell into Israeli hands. But for its Palestinian, its Arab inhabitants, it was the start of a bitter 40-year occupation that still continues today.
I don't want a balanced story, I want the truth.
I seem to have spent much of my life in divided cities like Belfast and Sarajevo. Communities torn apart by politics and religion. We had bombing campaigns. We lost hundreds in London. But we didn't build walls. You can't win that way.
For the last 4 months, I have been investigating the city of Jerusalem, its warring inhabitants, and their competing claims on the world's holiest city.
God asked for peace for all the religions, peace and this and this.
By the end, I want to try and find some basic building blocks on which a future peace might be built.
I'm Paddy Ashton. Very nice to see you.
And put them to senior figures on both sides.
Thank you very much.
Because I know that unless a solution is reached over Jerusalem's future, there can never be peace in the Middle East. On the 5th of June 1967, the Middle East was plunged into war. Threatened with total annihilation by her Arab neighbors, Israel struck first. In just 6 days, the Israeli army destroyed the combined forces of Egypt, Syria and Jordan, and conquered the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights and the West Bank, more than tripling Israel's size. On the 3rd day of the war, the Israeli army entered the old city of Jerusalem and captured its biggest prize, the holiest site in Judaism, the Western Wall. This was the first time in 2,000 years that Jews had been in complete control of the holy city of Jerusalem. On that day in 1967, David Rubinger took a photograph of the Israeli soldiers who had just captured the Western Wall, an image that came to epitomize the euphoria of that moment for Israelis. He met me with one of the paratroopers from the photo, Yitzhak Yifat.
David, where was the picture taken?
It must have been around here. And I was lying down on the floor and shooting up as these 3 guys were walking but stopped for a moment. And I think there is awe in their faces.
Gula Cohen was a journalist at the time and also witnessed the capture of the Western Wall.
For 2,000 years, Jews said, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its cunning." 2,000 years. They looked, they prayed towards Jerusalem, towards the east. All this, at that moment, came together. Suddenly, it was whole. And when it was whole, I understood why Jerusalem is the holy city.
Before the war, we had about 3 weeks of what's called the waiting period. The mood in Israel was one of standing before doom. Ramat Gan Stadium, which is the leading football stadium in Israel, was prepared to be a burial ground for 40,000 people. So imagine the feeling when suddenly, on the morning of that June day, it's like you're doomed, you're with a rope around your neck, and somebody comes up and says, just before they pull the trap door, takes off the rope from your neck and says, you're free. You're not only free, you're now king. And that was that euphoric feeling. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I cried when it.
When Gula Cohen later became an Israeli MP, she sponsored a law to make Jerusalem Israel's complete and united capital.
I think that Jerusalem will be the most intractable problem. Although you may hear people saying, oh, we can give up Jerusalem, who needs it? The Jewish nation will not let go of Jerusalem. A nation can be separated from Jerusalem for thousands of years, just as we were, yearning for it, dreaming about it, and awaiting the day of return. But now we have returned. To give it up again would mean giving it up forever.
Just a week after the conquest of Jerusalem in 1967, the old city was officially opened to the Israeli public for the Jewish festival of Shavuot. For the first time since the Jews were exiled by the Romans 2,000 years ago, the Western Wall was in Jewish hands.
This moment, which is so symbolic in the history of Israel, they were talking then about a Jerusalem eternal, holy, undivided. Is that the thought of Jerusalem you thought you were capturing?
At the beginning, there was a phrase, benevolent occupation. There ain't no such thing. There is no benevolent occupation. Kibush na'or. Just two words that cannot go together. And for a while, we thought that it works. I don't say we should have lost the war in '67. I wouldn't be here to talk to you then. Probably would be dead. But we won, but the outcome was a little bit too messianic.
The Western Wall is today a wide-open plaza at the center of the old city of Jerusalem, the location for all major Jewish and Israeli state festivals. But 40 years ago, in June 1967, when Shlomo Lahat was appointed military governor of Jerusalem, it was very different.
I knew the Wailing Wall from years ago, but immediately it came to me that it's very narrow. One side belonged to the wall from the Holy Temple. And next to it was also another part built with terrible houses of mud, horrible. So I asked Moshe Dayan, here when will Jewish people will come and they will see the Wailing Wall and they will be so excited. And this place is so narrow that we might have here more victims than we had in the war. So I think that we should enlarge it, yeah.
Aisha Masloui and her brother Abu Marwan were two of approximately 1,000 Palestinians who, in 1967, lived on the Western Wall Plaza. She still lives in a small flat overlooking what was then called the Moroccan Quarter.
And how many rooms did your house have?
My house is very big. We have 5 rooms, and bathroom and 2 kitchens. And the most beautiful in our house is the garden.
You had gardens there as well?
Yes, in that time we have garden.
These houses were in terrible shape, done from mud and stones. Sure.
You see,
every house had the two rooms, yeah, with a small kitchen, nothing.
Who lived there? What?
Arabs, yeah. Poor people, of course, very poor, yeah.
How many in your family, Aisha?
We are 8 children, and my mother and my father. 10 persons.
And what about your neighbors? Were they good people?
Yes, yes. We have
many good friends.
And we have very good relationship with the whole people in the area.
I decided that I'm going to call some of the inhabitants, and if they have a certain council, and to offer them to leave these houses, to take everything out they want, because we want to destroy it in order to enlarge it, to widen it. Yeah. And 3 people came and they said, Commander, we are the representatives of the other people. Yeah. We accept your idea, excellent. And it took us 2 days or 3 days, and the whole area was empty. And then we destroyed it.
Israeli journalist Uzi Benjamin has done a detailed study of the destruction of the Moroccan Quarter in 1967.
They took a sheet of paper and they mark what part of this area will be demolished. And the army sent some people who went through each of the buildings, each of the apartments that were there, and told the people to leave because it's going to be destroyed. Most of them obeyed, but there were some who refused. And they said, we'll die under the bulldozer. We don't want to leave our homes.
Aisha wanted me to meet one of her former neighbors. She told me he had some old photographs of the Moroccan Quarter.
A small road to enter until the Moroccan gate in the wall. Here in this corner, his own house.
These 3 houses are his own houses?
Yes.
Look this.
According to historical records, the Moroccan Quarter was built on land donated after the Crusades 800 years ago, under the terms of Jerusalem's oldest Islamic charitable trust. The final decision to destroy it was taken by senior members of the Israeli government. Shlomo Lahat was put in charge of the operation. There were 135 houses there, in which lived something like 1,000 people. They'd been there for 800 years. They were as much a part of the fabric of Jerusalem in this Moroccan Quarter as were the Jews. And their houses were destroyed. There was a school. There was a mosque. There were 135
Mosque I didn't
houses.
destroy, and I didn't destroy any mosque, first of all. Secondly, I mean, I didn't enforce them to do it. I offered them. If they would say no, I wouldn't take them.
It dates from the time of Saladin's son, and they were removed. They were removed
Excuse me,
from
no,
here.
no.
When they start to use this bulldozer at the beginning, the people believe they want to open a road to make the area a little more. They didn't believe they will destroy the whole quarter.
And how long did they have to get their things out of the houses?
There's many people, they didn't take anything because they haven't time.
So they left just in their clothes?
Yeah. Many families, they went by the clothes.
There was no consultation with the Arab side. It was a one-sided decision by the Israeli authorities who consulted with themselves. The people who lived in the quarter got a very short notice that something is going to happen. The final decision was taken on Saturday morning, and it took place actually on Saturday night.
Here's what I understand happened. People turned up with loudspeakers, and they were told to leave. They didn't have time to remove their goods.
No, this is not true. This is a lie. Yeah.
All the area know one woman. She didn't hear, and they found her body after. But the Jewish say after 30 years, they write in newspaper, they found 3 bodies.
There was one old Palestinian woman who died. Her name was Haja Rasmiya Ali Tabaki. The army who went into the houses and asked the people to evacuate it missed her. And she was found under the demolished buildings, and she died.
Is it not true that they found 3 bodies there? Old people who couldn't get out in time or didn't hear?
A lie. We didn't find anyone dead, person. This is a lie, I'm telling you. This is not true. Yeah.
Aisha wanted to take me onto the plaza of the Western Wall to show me where her family home once stood. But whilst I could enter, she was barred by the Israeli police. According to international law, this is occupied territory, and Israel's actions are illegal. The Fourth Geneva Protocol, of which Israel is a signatory, forbids the destruction by an occupying power of any personal property. A grave breach of this convention, if proved in court, is considered a war crime.
See my house?
Yes.
See, down. Look down.
Yes.
You will see my house.
This is your house here?
This is a big hall now. No house.
And when the quarter was there, this was full of houses, all the way through the Wailing Wall.
Full of houses until where they are standing.
Did you understand why I wanted to widen the Wailing Wall?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
It was narrow, it was terrible.
But what I don't understand is how, to do that, you could obliterate a community, a Moroccan community that has been as much a part of Jerusalem's history for the last 800 years as the Jews have been.
The Wailing Wall is much older, first of all. Secondly, the country, including Jerusalem, originally was our area, was our city. Yeah, our holy city. The Holy Temple was built by Jews, not by Muslims.
The destruction of the Moroccan quarter in June 1967 was the first major act in the Israeli occupation of Jerusalem, and it began a new battle for control of the city that has now lasted 40 years.
I like to see like this. God asked for peace for all the religions. Peace and peace and peace. Because of that, they make the people crazy.
Come, Aisha. Thank you for coming with us.
You are welcome.
In the next part, I will investigate how Israel has battled to increase the Jewish presence in the city, and how the buying and selling of land has become a deeply political act. For Jews worldwide, Jerusalem is at the heart of their faith. It is the site where King Solomon built the original temple almost 3,000 years ago. Jerusalem is the place from which the Jews were exiled by the Romans after the temple's final destruction in AD 135. And it is the city to which they prayed for the next 2,000 years, yearning to return. Until the middle of the 19th century, Jews remained a small minority in Jerusalem. Then, numbers of Jewish immigrants escaping persecution in Europe began to arrive. And with the rise of Zionism, Jews quickly became a majority. Since the conquest of Jerusalem in 1967, the Israeli government has encouraged mass immigration to the city, and the numbers of Jews have now risen to almost 500,000.
Jerusalem was always the symbol of where Jews wanted to return to, of repatriation, of ending exile, of going home. So Jerusalem had, both on a religious level and a national level, the status of the ultimate goal, of the destination, of the homecoming.
When modern Israel was founded in 1948, the surrounding Arab states were hostile to the huge waves of Jewish immigrants and declared their intention to annihilate them. A key battleground was Jerusalem. After a brutal and bloody battle, the eastern part of Jerusalem, including the Old City, was captured by the Jordanian Arab Legion.
In 1948, when the city was divided, when the old city of Jerusalem was outside of Jewish hands, there was built into that situation a sense of getting almost to the finish line but not quite there, of something incomplete, of interrupted history.
Chaim Zelnicker's family first arrived in the city from Germany 200 years ago. During Israel's War of Independence in 1948, he was one of the Jewish fighters who fought for control of the Old City with the Arab Legion.
Was a terrible war, fight day or night. synagogue after synagogue. I wounded 4 times. I lost a piece of my leg. From 150 soldiers, 70 was killed, the rest was wounded. For my friends, what I was with together in the war, from 34, only 7 stay alive.
The battle in the Old City lasted 2 weeks, until the Jewish fighters ran out of food and ammunition and were forced to surrender.
The last day, I tell the boy, one boy, bring my ammunition. You know, this is the last 100 bullets. On the same boy, Judy. After an hour, it was killed.
He was killed.
He was killed.
When Israel conquered the Old City in 1967, Chaim returned to live in his parents' house in the Jewish quarter.
I was up here, on, this was the last day. On all of Jerusalem, everything here was
destroyed.
The fire, destroyed. Everything was fire.
When the Arab Legion captured the Jewish quarter in 1948, its 1,500 surviving Jewish residents were forced to leave. The Jordanians then systematically destroyed the quarter, looting the houses and blowing up the synagogues to eradicate all traces of a Jewish presence. For the next 19 years, there were no Jews living in the Old City.
This was in 1948. This is the synagogue, the Chovah. What you see here, this was destroyed. This is Jewish water. Look, this Jewish water.
Yeah, it was destroyed.
Hey, all was destroyed. Look here, all this was destroyed.
Chaim now runs special tours of the Jewish quarter for soldiers and students.
Young boys, young girls was killed. All was killed. So this is Israel. This is the heart of Israel. And if you ask me if I'm sorry, no. I love Israel. More than everything, I love Jerusalem. So this idea, I teach the soldiers today to know the price what you pay for a country. My father told me before he passed away, my mother before passed away, both of them, tell me one thing, Chaim, don't leave the old city. Never you or your generation after you not to leave the old city.
When the modern state of Israel was founded in 1948, 2 horrific events in Jerusalem defined the mindset of the opposing forces. The first took place just south of the city in what is now the occupied West Bank, in a group of Jewish settlements called Gush Etzion. In 1948, they were part of Jerusalem's frontline defenses against the Arab forces. Hanan Porat lived with his family in one of the original settlements. He was 6 when the fighting started. He wanted to show me a specially made film about the settlement's history.
An album of silent, faded pictures. An intimate reminder of a flourishing group of settlements that was cut down and destroyed.
I have a very particular memory from when I was a small child. One of the security guards took me up on the roof of the synagogue and shone a searchlight at the surrounding villages. I was very frightened. I said, "Look how many Arabs there are, and we are so few." And I'll never forget what he said. He said, "We have the light, but they are in darkness."
The second event took place on the western edge of Jerusalem, near the modern Jewish neighborhood of Givat Shaul. 60 years ago, there used to be a Palestinian village here called Deir Yassin. Its remaining buildings are now in the grounds of an Israeli mental hospital, closed off to the public.
Abdulaziz. Hi. Good to see you.
I had arranged to meet 84-year-old Abdulaziz Barakat and his son Mohammed, whose family used to live in the village.
The Jews attacked the village very early in the morning, when people were asleep. They attacked everything.
Those people from Deir Yassin, my uncles, some fled, while others were killed by the Jews.
On the 9th of April 1948, a force of Jewish fighters attacked the village.
My grandmother was killed. So was my uncle and my cousins and other relatives. Many people were killed in the village. Not all together, but all over the village.
How many altogether were killed?
I know that the number was 92 people. My cousin told me. He has a list of the names. The villagers were taken by surprise. They were asleep. Men, women, children, anybody they could find, they killed. Those people came in with one intention, to kill everyone in the village.
5 weeks after the massacre at Deir Yassin, the Jewish settlements at Gush Etzion were surrounded and cut off from Jerusalem. Hanan Parat had already been evacuated with the other children.
Our soldiers fought until the last bullet. At the last minute, they realized they were defeated as they saw there was no hope. They were rounded up by the Jordanian troops and told they were to be photographed before being taken captive. They lined the men up, and suddenly the order was given, Atba el Yehud, kill all the Jews.
129 of the Jewish fighters were killed.
The Arabs stormed the settlements, plundering, destroying, uprooting, and burning everything in their path.
The story of this massacre has become a symbol of Jewish heroic martyrdom in defense of Jerusalem. The date is now enshrined as Israel's Day of Remembrance.
By the torchlight of the burning settlements of Etzion, the State of Israel was declared.
But for the massacre of Palestinians by Jews at Deir Yassin, there are no memorials, no official anniversary, and the village doesn't even appear on Israeli maps.
I believe there will be peace here soon, God willing, so we can get on with our lives and put all of this behind us and live together like we did before.
Hanan, are you still the light and they are the darkness?
Those Arabs who want to live here under Jewish Israeli rule, they are welcome. Those who want their own country, a national home of their own, can go to Jordan.
After the Israeli victory in the Six-Day War in 1967, Hanan was able to return to Gush Etzion and re-establish the settlement, the first in the newly occupied West Bank. Today it is one of a ring of settlements surrounding Jerusalem that now contain 275,000 Jews.
Once we had returned to these lands, no one could then say to us, "This land does not belong to you." I can't realize all my dreams, but what I've won, I will not give up.
A year after the capture of the old city of Jerusalem, the Israeli government decided to set up a special company to rebuild the Jewish quarter. It still controls the quarter today.
In 1948, the old Jewish quarter was taken by the Jordanians, yes? And then between 1948 and 1967, what happened?
From that time until 1967, many Arab families took over Jewish houses and Jewish property. The Arabs simply took over without permission. They took over the whole area without any permission at all. They simply came in from other areas of the old city, from the Muslim quarter, and from beyond the old city. And they took over the Jewish property.
Are there still Arabs living in the quarter?
No. There are no Arabs in the quarter today, with the exception of Shalshelet Street. No, not only do they not reside here, but the company's regulations state that the Jewish quarter should remain in Jewish hands. In other words, non-Jews cannot live in the Jewish quarter.
It's difficult to justify that. Listen. I come from a divided city. I come from a divided city. Belfast, very divided city. And increasingly now, Protestants are living in Catholic areas, Catholics living in Protestant areas. But even though a Jew could live in a Muslim area, and do, in Jerusalem, no Muslims can live in the Jewish area. That's correct.
I understand what you are getting at, but this area, which was rebuilt, to which the Jews returned, the property belongs to the Jews. So you won't find Jews here who want to sell their property to the Arabs.
Today's rebuilt Jewish quarter is more than twice the size it was in 1967. Over the last 40 years, more than 75% of its land has been forcibly expropriated from Palestinians. And the Jewish presence in the rest of the old city is growing too. Jewish religious groups, settlers, have been buying up land. I arranged to meet a long-time inhabitant of the Muslim quarter, Kamal Akawi.
You must be Mr. Akawi. Hello. Very good to see you. Thank you very much for meeting me.
Kamal's family have lived in one of the old city's main streets for the last 200 years. Ever since 1967, there's been a battle in Jerusalem over land, who owns it and who controls it. No longer is the buying and selling of property just a simple transaction. It has become a deeply political act.
The point is, we are in promised land and in a holy place. This is the Muslim quarter, and we view now the Al-Haram Sharif. So for us, the land is my identity. So you cannot sell. It's more worth than children, it's more worth than anything, even your life. If you take it, you take my identity.
So if this is the Muslim quarter, why are those Israeli flags over there?
This is the houses been sitting settlers. They took it from the Muslim people, and they now staying there. And here in this area, we've been circled by the Jewish around. Here, there, up there, around here.
You must feel as though you're in a siege here.
Absolutely. They want to make it as a Jewish place.
For the last 30 years, groups of Jewish settlers have been spending millions of pounds buying up land in Palestinian areas of the city. One of the most successful is Aryeh King. He runs his business from an abandoned hotel in East Jerusalem.
Is it your vision that all of this should be the ownership of the Jews, the whole of the old city? Is that what you'd like to see in the end?
I like to see all of Yerushalayim, not just the old city. All of Yerushalayim.
So your aim is to have all the property, if you can, in Jerusalem,
as much as possible,
in Jewish hands?
Of course.
Aryeh King has a network of informers who help him find Palestinians willing to sell their land. His backers are mostly wealthy foreign Jews determined to increase the Jewish presence in Jerusalem.
For me, it's giving me a lot of power. You know, when I'm not sleeping, I'm all the time thinking about my work. It's difficult to me to leave Yerushalayim because I'm afraid that something will happen and I will not be there.
But what would happen if a Palestinian, organization discovered that Palestinian Arabs
they would be under.
They
can kill them.
They'd be killed.
Of course.
Really?
No doubt. They want also to kill me.
Some people, they sell houses, but they are not in the country again anymore.
Why not?
Otherwise, they will be hanging.
They'll be hanged?
Yes.
They will be killed for selling a house? By
the Palestinians.
So, if you sell your land, you're a traitor to your people, a traitor to your heritage.
Absolutely.
Aryeh King wanted to show me one of his latest projects in East Jerusalem. He claims to have discovered property once owned by Jews over 70 years ago. And now he is using the Israeli courts to remove the current Palestinian tenants.
But we're in East Jerusalem, which is
we are in East Jerusalem.
Where the Palestinians are a majority.
Yeah. And here, you see these old houses, this is where Jews lived up to 1936. And it's still in the process to pay the Arabs out, because they are not the owners. The owners are still, were all the time the Jews. You see, the Arabs still living here. You see, the woman just now went out. The question was if we are able to take them out.
And at the end of this area, will there be no Arabs living in this area?
God wish.
Come on, what's that up there? It looks like a camera.
Yes, there is two cameras. One camera belongs to the police, and the other camera belongs to the settlers there. And they're just watching the people that are coming up on the roofs, and they're trying to find out what the people trying to do here or whatever.
So you're constantly being watched?
All the time, 24 hours.
Our plan is, as you see, to build more and more small neighborhoods, and in the end, to connect all of the Jewish neighborhood to one big area.
Really, your plan is to connect up and take over all of this?
Yeah.
But there's one thing that's very clear.
Yeah.
International law has said that Israel's annexation of this land is illegal. That's international law.
This is the international law.
And you've ignored it.
I ignored
it.
Over the last 40 years, the Israeli government has consistently denied that its annexation of East Jerusalem is illegal.
Kamal, what is Jerusalem to you?
Jerusalem, let's make it like this. This is a body. And Jerusalem is the heart of the body. And Jerusalem is a heart for us. And without the heart, you cannot live.
Like I said about Yerushalayim, you must think, you're talking about Yerushalayim every day, tens of times. You're mentioning Yerushalayim is part of your life, should be. This is the fact. I'm a racist. I must be a racist in order to protect my future.
For the last 40 years, Israel has been trying to transform Jerusalem into a Jewish city. In the next part, I want to investigate the effect of this policy on the city's Palestinian inhabitants. "40 years after Israel conquered Jerusalem, a bulldozer enters a Palestinian district of the city. Kader Atun arrives as the Israeli government begins to destroy his house. Unable to obtain a permit, he built it illegally. In 1967, when the Israelis captured Jerusalem from Jordan, they were faced with a major problem. The new areas of the city were inhabited by a large population of Palestinian Arabs, for whom Jerusalem was home. For most of the last 1400 years, Jerusalem had been an Arab, a Muslim city.
A day will come, God willing, when Muslims will be triumphant, and the Jews will cry blood, not tears.
For 10 years, Amar Sheshin was senior advisor on Arab affairs to the mayor of Jerusalem. He later wrote a book about the Israeli plan to transform Jerusalem into a Jewish city.
Before the end of June 1967, they got a decision to expand the boundaries of Jerusalem from 38 square kilometers to 108 square kilometers, and by this to annex into Jerusalem 28 Arab Palestinian villages.
The city's new boundaries excluded major areas of Palestinian population and included vast empty spaces, ready for Jewish settlers to move in.
Slowly but surely, the government started to develop the plan to import into Jerusalem many more Jews and to make Jerusalem a solid Jewish city as it should be, as the capital of Israel, no doubt about it. Immediately after 1967 war and the reunification of the city, a census was conducted, and the census said at that time that the ratio between Jews and Arabs in Jerusalem is 74% Jews and 26% Palestinians, Arabs.
Ever since, official Israeli government policy has been to maintain this Jewish majority in Jerusalem at the expense of its Palestinian inhabitants.
Government policy was to encourage Jewish families to come to Jerusalem, and on the other side of the coin, to encourage Palestinians to leave the city boundaries, to find their housing accommodations outside of the boundaries.
Unless this changes, you can't keep peace in the city.
Definitely, I would describe it as a pressure cooker. The pressure cooker got a certain pressure from the inside till a certain point, it will blow up. I don't know when. It might be tomorrow, or in 2 hours, or in a month. But it will. The whole pot is going to blow up.
Gwyn Lewis, of the United Nations Commission for Humanitarian Affairs, is compiling a report about the effects of 40 years of Israeli rule on access to Jerusalem for Palestinians.
So this is what you have to walk through. If they have any suspicions about you, they take you into a separate room, and there's a soldier there who will search you.
So what happens here?
So here we go in one by one for them to check our IDs.
Take off your camera. Don't take picture, hello.
You're not allowed to take pictures.
Right. Okay, don't take pictures. You're not allowed to go through. Go on, guys, off you go.
Since 2002, the Israeli government has been building a massive barrier over 430 miles long to separate Israelis from Palestinians. In Jerusalem, it's a 25-foot concrete wall that now cuts off the surrounding Palestinian villages from their city.
Describe to me what the effect on the city of all this is.
The Israeli authorities control all movement to the city. So it means that access to the religious sites, which are very important for Jerusalem, I mean, it's the holy city for both Christians and Muslims, is becoming increasingly difficult. Palestinians can't get to East Jerusalem anymore without a permit.
When the Israeli government decided to build the wall, Colonel Danny Tirza was in charge of planning its route.
So, Colonel, now Jerusalem is famous throughout the world for two walls, the Western Wall and the wall you built. What was the reason for building it?
Oh, the reason is coming from the story that we can't live with such a level of terror acts that were taken. In 2002, 2003, you can't go in Jerusalem to a restaurant or to a mall or even to a shop. Going by a bus, everywhere that you were going, there was the feeling that someone can hurt you and there can be a bomb.
Over the last 12 years, there have been 24 suicide bomb attacks in Jerusalem, killing 249 Israelis. On the 9th of March 2002, 11 people were killed in the Moment Cafe in West Jerusalem. One of them was 28-year-old Orit Bozarov.
Oh, she is beautiful, isn't she? Yeah. And this was taken when?
This photograph took 5 hours before she was murdered. All the people love her. Her friends that took this picture say that at that time she was very happy. She never believed that in this place something like that will happen. That's the tragedy, that Orit never believed that something will happen.
But here you are sitting, what, 4 yards, 5 yards from where she was when she was killed by the suicide bomber.
Yeah, this is the first time that I'm sitting here. I never come here.
First time you've been back
This is the first time that I'm sitting here.
Takes a lot of strength to come. Yeah. Dali, you have paid the price, the most terrible price, for lack of security. We've been looking at the wall around Jerusalem, and of course some criticize it. Some say it makes life very difficult for the Palestinians. Others say it's necessary for security. What do you think?
I think it's very important because it's reduced the cases of suicide, bombing. I think it's helped. I think there's no other option.
Do you think that if the wall had been built when Ohrid was murdered, it may not have happened?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I don't know. We lost daughter, we lost friends, we lost lover, we lost...
I understand.
Jerusalem's new wall is now almost complete, cutting the city off from the rest of the occupied West Bank.
Education is a huge issue because you have children crossing the checkpoint who cannot be accompanied by their parents because their parents need a permit.
Any age?
Yes. And when there's closure, when there's a security incident, everything gets closed down and these 4-year-olds are stuck on buses without their parents. And I mean, we had something like 100 days of complete closure last year where people could not move at all.
What can we do if the Palestinians use children 7 years old with a bomb or explosives inside his school bag? We have to check them because sometimes they carry munitions, and we understand that everyone is suspicious.
Anybody can cross into the Palestinian area, that's no problem. But if you're Palestinian and you want to leave, then you need to apply for a permit with the Israeli Defense Forces, so with the military. And you have old people being picked up occasionally by ambulances, which is very expensive, that will bring them to the checkpoint. They will get out of the ambulance, and then there'll be an ambulance to pick them up on the other side.
Sick and infirm.
Yeah. We're finding that patients are being sent back because a soldier at the checkpoint is deciding who can get through the checkpoint.
We tried building walls in Belfast. I was there as a soldier on the streets of Belfast. They didn't work. And I'll tell you why. Because the modern concept of security is not about walls and collective security. It's about common security, that you and your enemy share the same destiny, so as you can create the kind of society that won't have suicide bombers. Now, that's why walls have never worked. Why do you think yours will?
It's not London here. London is away from North Ireland. Here we live just near the Palestinians, and we understand that if they won't come and take out terror attacks inside Jerusalem, we have to close their way.
We're going to go through a checkpoint now, which is only for the residents of this area. We're allowed to go through as the UN because we visit the families, so we have to wait for the soldiers. Hi.
Shalom.
We want to see the Kunbar families. We're going to visit. Huh? We're going to visit the Kunbar family.
No, you can't. You can't go through here.
Sorry, excuse me. We can come through here. I've been through here many times. You know what the rule is. We are allowed to go through here.
I speak as somebody who believes that Israel's right to exist is unquestionable and implacably oppose all those who would wish to see this state annihilated. And this feels to me like a mistake, a big mistake. It will deepen the anger in the hearts of the young men who are acting as terrorists against you. Excuse me. I'm sorry we can't speak your language, but listen, surely the UN has a right to go through. The UN has an absolute right. Yes, absolutely. The UN has an international right.
I'll speak to my captain.
Well, let me tell you that you are now...
I'll speak to my captain.
This is a matter of international law. The UN has a right to go through here. Without being checked...
You all need to talk to us to let you go through, okay?
Well, then you're...
I listen to my captain, it's not to you. You want to go there, go whatever.
No, we're staying here.
Stay, I don't care.
I don't think it's going to help you. I don't think
so what do you suggest?
Well, there is a suggestion, which is what we had to do in Northern Ireland. We had to say, we understand the Catholic population have been discriminated against. We understand that they have no future. So we have to give that to them. We have to bring them in.
Here we go. We're off.
We had bombing campaigns. We lost hundreds in London. But we didn't build walls. And we didn't overreact to the provocation of our enemies. And now, after 35 years, it's been very tough. We have peace in Northern Ireland.
We have to give a solution how people can live today, how my children can go to school. And this solution that you suggest is for long term. It's not for today.
Although the wall has split the city in two, the divisions between the two communities run much deeper. One person who has seen this at first hand is former Jerusalem City Councillor, Mayor Margalit.
Jerusalem, whole, united, eternal, and holy. That was the spirit of 67. Has that spirit been realized, do you think?
First of all, I think that this is the start of the most big lie in the history of the State of Israel. The facts are that the city is not united. You can just walk on the streets of East Jerusalem and compare it to West Jerusalem to understand that we live in two different planets. 33% of the population in Jerusalem, the Arabs one, they get just 10% of the municipal budget. The meaning is that there is segregation. It's not another word. To say that there is a racism in the municipal policy is not easy for me. That is the truth.
In 1967, one of the Palestinian areas annexed by the Israelis was Shurfat, which included a UN refugee camp. The route of the new security wall will soon surround it, cutting it off completely from the city. I was taken to see what life was like there today.
What about the rubbish here, Karim? Who picks up this rubbish when?
God knows when. It's supposed to be collected by the municipality. Yeah. But you can see it for weeks here, and many times the people, they burn it. And it became a very bad
smell.
Yeah.
This is all the camp here, is it? This is 20,000 people living here.
Yeah, living in this area.
And very crowded houses.
You can see, there is no space to get air.
But these people, most of them will have jobs, most of them will not have jobs.
And most of them, they don't have jobs. Most of them, they just...
and here's the wall going down here.
Yeah, and if you...
and then all the way around there.
Yeah.
And into the distance.
And the whole...
So here we have 20,000, maybe more people crammed into this space.
Yeah.
No living room, no playground.
No.
No ability to get into Jerusalem, except through checkpoints, for an hour and a half. And what, 300 meters the other side is a large Jewish settlement where people have 4 times the salary, ready access to Jerusalem, plenty of space to grow, hospitals, schools, services. Here, no hospitals, no schools, no services, no job.
No job, no hope.
No living space, no hope.
No.
And this thing won't help you.
Yeah,
in the end, it won't help you.
Yeah.
They may think it will, but it won't. The job of a government is to serve all its people. Does the city council serve all its people equally?
No. From a legal point of view, Palestinians are not citizens like me, like the Jewish, they are just residents. And this is a very vulnerable status. So from the start, the Palestinians are not in the same level.
Until 1976, the Israelis allowed Palestinians to build houses quite freely in this area. But when the Palestinian numbers began to grow, the municipality clamped down with some ridiculous consequences.
Now we will enter this house. We still moved in the municipality borders of Jerusalem.
So these steps are in Jerusalem?
We are still in Jerusalem.
And therefore we're in Israel?
Yeah. Now we enter to the West Bank.
But how does the man living in here get into his house?
He gets it from Jerusalem. And for that they arrest him
So he
for
doesn't
2
have
years.
permission to use?
He doesn't have a permission. Officially, he doesn't have a permission. They arrested him from his house. And
So stop. In order to get into his house,
yeah,
the only way in is through Israel.
Through Israel.
But he doesn't have a right to go into Israel.
Yeah.
In 2004, around 2 a.m., we were awakened by the Israeli police knocking on the door. I was arrested, along with my cousins and my neighbours. During the interrogation, the police officer told me this area was in Israel. But I told him I'd been living here since 1972. He replied that although my house was located in the West Bank, the steps were in Israeli territory. Therefore, the policeman said, every time that I entered my house, I needed a permit from the Israeli police.
So every time you come up your own front steps, you are officially breaking the law?
Yes. So every time we go in or out of the house, we are officially breaking the law as far as the police are concerned. And when we use those steps to try and visit that house over there, we are officially breaking the law.
But just I want to confirm. First, the Israelis gave you permission to build this house. No.
Yes. They gave me permission for that.
Secondly, having given you permission, you can't have permission now to go into your own house through your own front steps without breaking the law.
Yes, for sure.
It's a mad world.
Ode now has a permit to enter his house, but it only lasts for 3 months and can be taken away at any time. One of the most brutal aspects of Israeli policy in Palestinian East Jerusalem is house demolition. Israeli planning laws now make it almost impossible for Palestinians to obtain a building permit. So, in order to accommodate their growing families, many are forced to build illegally. 5 years ago, Abu Jamal wanted to build a house for his family on land which he owned. He was refused a permit, but he built it anyway.
Jamal, how many people in your family?
5 people.
5. And you're not allowed to live in your own house?
We've been told to close the house by the end of this month.
Jerusalem City Council has ordered Jamal to prepare the house for demolition. He now lives in a tent in the garden.
How will you sleep? Your wife and yourself here?
The 2 boys over there, and we sleep here, and my daughter over there.
Jamal, how do you feel about this? What is your wife?
We are all frustrated. We have paid a lot of money to the council, to the architect and the lawyers, and it's all been a complete waste.
No doubt I don't understand all the intricacies of the situation, but it is, in its effect, as you see here, inhuman. It is stupid. It is generating in the hearts of these people an implacable hate. And I wonder, and I worry, where that will end. There is only one word for a policy like this, and it is racism masquerading as bureaucracy. The intention is very simple. It is to ensure that the Palestinian community, who have lived in Jerusalem for centuries, maybe even for millennia, are now driven from their land by a bureaucracy that is discriminatory and inhumane.
Just down the road, I came across an extraordinary sight. A man demolishing his own house.
Mohammed, you live in this house? This is your house?
This is my house, but I don't live here yet now.
But
you see, I take all of the building down.
And what is your job?
I work as a nurse in the hospital.
And now you have to demolish your own house?
I have to demolish. But I chose to demolish by myself and not to pay more money for him to demolish.
Because if the authorities come here and pull down this house, you will have to pay for demolition.
Yeah.
And how much would that be?
They told me at last time that I have to pay 160,000 shekel.
The Israeli government requires these illegal builders to pay to have their houses demolished, as much as £20,000 a time.
I'm sad and angry also, because we pay all our life, we pay for this country. They don't give us anything.
Is there hope? Can you see hope?
No.
No hope.
No hope. For me, no.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot.
All the best.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
مع السلامة. كمل.
In 2004, although there were more than 5,500 planning violations in Jewish West Jerusalem, only 13 houses were demolished. But in Palestinian East Jerusalem, less than 1,400 violations led to 114 houses being destroyed, almost 9 times as many. Jerusalem's problems are often seen as a battle between just Jews and Arabs. But there are Christians here too. And, as I found, in the crazy world of Christian politics, there may just be a solution to one of the city's biggest problems. Every Easter, thousands of foreign Christians travel to Jerusalem to witness the Passion of Christ. In huge parades through the Old City, they relive the central story of Christianity, the last days of Jesus, when he was arrested, paraded through the streets, and crucified. But today, Jerusalem's Palestinian Christians are in crisis. Their numbers are dwindling, their power is waning, and they are riven by scandal. 2 years ago, the largest Palestinian Christian denomination in Jerusalem, the Greek Orthodox Church, was struck by a devastating scandal. It involved the selling of prime Palestinian land to Jewish developers. The secret sale of one of the old city's most prominent landmarks, the Imperial Hotel.
So, Mr. Najari, what's been done here? Tell me this. Tell me the story of what happened with this hotel.
You know, unfortunately, I woke up, it was on March 18th, 2000, I got a phone call from the Israeli broadcast and saying, Mr. Dajani, have a glass of water and sit down. And then he told me, your hotel has been sold. I said, what? He said, yes, this is the latest Ma'arif issue. Go down and buy the newspaper. So I went down and bought the newspaper, and there was the big mention that this has been sold, along with 18 shops. The deal was done in such a way, a secret of the way, that nobody knew about it.
The Greek Orthodox Church is one of Jerusalem's biggest property owners. But for its Palestinian congregation, the sale of any church land to Israelis is regarded as treason.
This patriarch is a betrayer. I told him now, when Judas betrayed Christ, he went and committed suicide. He should go and commit suicide too.
After the scandal broke in 2005, Mr. Dajani discovered that his secret buyers were a group of religious Jews.
And so they went, how may I say it, behind your back?
Yes.
To the Greek Orthodox Church?
Yes. So they've been after this property 10 years now, trying to get it from the Dajani family.
Corruption involved?
There must be somebody, you know, who sells his soul for few pennies. I think it was corruption, and I think now the Interpol is after him to get him to tell the real story.
A former church employee is now wanted for embezzlement, and with accusations of the irresponsible mishandling of church property, the patriarch himself was deposed. But this scandal was not just about the selling of land. There were other, more fundamental issues involved. The hierarchy of the Greek Orthodox Church is almost exclusively Greek, whereas its congregation are Palestinian Arabs. For the last 100 years, they have been trying to take control of what they regard as their church and prevent the selling of any more Palestinian land.
The people who are controlling the patriarchate behaves as a national group, as a race group. that they are Greek and this is a Greek heritage and they should secure it. We just want to have our rights in this patriarchate, to be represented in this patriarchate. And also, we need this patriarchate to be a part of the situation in Palestine. And this church should be for the people, and the people here are suffering.
In August 2005, in an attempt to resolve the crisis, a new patriarch was appointed. He has agreed to meet me.
We have been struggling since more than 100 years. So I want you to ask him this question. He has promised us, since he was elected, that he will do changes in this patriarchate. But nothing happened. He promised us. Now 2 years. So if you can ask him this question.
Patriarch, thank you very much for seeing me today. I'm very grateful to you for giving me your time. Do you find it understandable that some of your Palestinian congregation really believe that to have a vast majority of your congregation Palestinian and only a tiny proportion of the large number of senior clergy, not a single Palestinian, they're all Greek? Do you find that strange? Would you like to see that change?
No, it's not. There is nothing strange. On the contrary, we have brothers here from... we have a good number of brothers from the locals. Now we have a bishop, and there was another one who passed away.
Amongst and, how many would there be in total?
In total, it's 18.
Out of 18, one Palestinian?
That's right, yes.
You don't understand the feeling of concern in the congregation that there aren't more Palestinians in the senior clergy, that they're all
This
Greeks.
is not the problem. The problem is...
They think it's the problem.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I can tell you I've spoken to some. They certainly think it's a problem.
Well, it is said like this, but I don't think that this is the problem. We are working on this. So, we have already started.
Forgive me, but can you give me some idea? Is it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
No. It's
a millennium?
No, come on. It's very soon. We are working on this.
Within a year or so, do you think?
Less than that.
Less than that?
Of course.
Some of your flock are saying to me that they're very unhappy at the way that the land from the Patriarchate has been managed, particularly since the Israelis came here in 1967, and that these balances should be public, they should be transparent.
Of course it was been done. Well, this is why, not yet, because I don't have full numbers. We are in the process now just to present the revenues and the expenses, etc., because it is very important. Don't forget that this was what has happened. It was part of the crisis of the Patriarchate.
So you think the moral image of the Patriarchate has been damaged in this process?
A lot. There was a great damage done to the image of the Patriarchate.
Corruption? Was there corruption?
Well, it was part of it.
There was corruption?
Of course there was corruption. That's right, yes.
Right at the heart of Christian Jerusalem is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the place where Jesus Christ is said to have died, been buried, and then rose from the dead. For the last 1600 years, control of this church has been fought over by rival Christian groups. In an attempt to stop the violence, in 1767, the Ottoman rulers issued a decree establishing a status quo that divided the church between the various groups. Father Athanasius is a Franciscan monk who monitors this agreement for the Catholics.
There are altogether 6 churches involved in the status quo. There are 5 that have rights within the church, and there's 1 church that has rights on the roof.
But the status quo itself froze the situation at a given point in time.
Exactly.
That situation having been previously decided by the Sultan in Constantinople.
It wasn't previously decided by the Sultan. What happened was the churches themselves were fighting over control of various shrines. At some stage or another, 1 church would have prevailed. For instance, this area here behind us, called the Arches of the Virgin, we claimed that, and the Greeks claimed it. What happened was the Greeks gained control of it.
There was real fighting? I mean, physical,
there was some physical fighting,
violence.
yes.
Between the monks?
Between the monks.
Wow. Anybody injured?
There have been injuries, yes.
Killed?
Not that I know of.
Today, this status quo agreement is epitomized by an ancient ladder perched on a balcony above the church's entrance.
This was used as a balcony. You see, in times in which I think you couldn't enter or exit the church without paying taxes to the Muslim authorities, the Armenians would come out onto this balcony to get a bit of air. So the Armenians keep the ladder there, I think, is proof that niche is there.
So this rather curious and untidy ladder outside is there to say this is an Armenian balcony.
Exactly.
The status quo agreement is an extraordinary, bizarre, and sometimes ridiculous system. But amazingly, it actually seems to have worked, and for the last 240 years.
For all the fact that, it may seem odd, for managing holy real estate, it works as a system.
There are occasional problems. There are things that are difficult to resolve. But large parts of this church, there's no disagreement.
But can what operates here in this church provide a clue as to how to solve Jerusalem's biggest, bloodiest, and most intractable problem of all? Who controls the Temple Mount? The Haram al-Sharif. Right in the center of Old Jerusalem is a plot of land that is at the heart of the city's holiness and the source of its modern-day hell. For Jews, it is known as the Temple Mount, the site of the original Jewish temple built by Solomon over 3,000 years ago, rebuilt by King Herod, and destroyed by the Romans, a place Jews pray to every day. For Muslims, it's the Haram al-Sharif, where the Prophet of Heaven. It was the original Muslim direction of prayer, and it contains the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, one of the 3 holiest places in Islam. But for the last 40 years, Palestinians and Israelis have waged a bitter battle for control of this holy site. A solution to its future is Jerusalem's most intractable problem.
If the world wants peace, they will have to tell the Arabs that they can worship all they want, but that the Temple Mount belongs to Jerusalem, and Jerusalem belongs to the Jewish nation.
Every single stone of the Al-Aqsa Mosque belongs to Muslims, Arabs and Palestinians. Ownership and sovereignty. The Jews have no right to install any religious material in that place under the pretext of a Jewish religious claim.
Trying to separate nationality and religion has become increasingly difficult over the intervening 40 years. On the Muslim side, Islam has increasingly replaced nationalism as a defining ideology even among Palestinians, such that the site has become a symbol for both Islam and for Palestinian nationalism. It's become a site that's more and more a flashpoint for tension between Israelis and Palestinians.
The Jewish attack the Muslims! In the prayer, they're attacking the prayer!
On the 9th of February 2007, the latest episode in this 40-year battle broke out, when an Israeli bulldozer began to excavate an ancient ramp leading up to one of the holy site's gates. The Mughrabi ramp contains the last remains of the Moroccan quarter, destroyed by the Israelis within days of their conquest of the city in 1967. Ever since, they have claimed it is a part of the city's expanded Jewish quarter. In February 2004, the ramp partially collapsed, and the Israelis decided to replace it.
Why has there been all the trouble over this?
Okay, the trouble, we have to understand that any actions by Israeli in this area, in Jerusalem, especially when we are close to the Temple Mount, make a lot of noise. They said we are digging under the Temple Mount. And as you see, we are very far from the Temple Mount. Of course, we never dig under the Temple Mount, and we don't have any plan to dig. So this is the first thing we have to make it clear.
When the Mughrabi ramp controversy first started, Adnan Husseini was the manager of the Waqf, the Muslim authority responsible for Haram al-Sharif.
The Israelis say to me, all we're doing is repairing the ramp, and there is no danger here.
Why they wanted to repair the ramp? What's the problem with the ramp?
Because they say it's falling down.
Because it's dangerous?
That's what they say.
Yani, to repair a ramp, a historic ramp, which has more than 1,500 years of historic traces, we take it with 4 bulldozers from the day that they started, or they bring some engineers to consolidate it in a way or other.
The Muslim authorities claim the ramp was built on land owned by an Islamic charity, and as such is part of the Al-Aqsa Mosque itself.
Before the starting of the excavations, there was official letters sent to the Israeli authority that we are against this. This is very dangerous. We will have a reaction in the country. We have reaction in the region. It is an attack against the mosque. It is the entrance to the mosque. Stop it. Don't do it. And we warn them, officially.
Did you consult with the Waqf, the Islamic authorities on the Haram al-Sharif, the Temple Mount, before you started doing this?
Everybody knew about the government plan to build here something new.
But that's different from consulting you, isn't it?
As I told you, everybody knew. And when I said everybody, it's not just
It didn't happen.
Everybody knew.
Since Israel's conquest of the city, the Haram al-Sharif is the only part of Jerusalem over which the Palestinians retain any element of control. So it has become the symbol of their 40-year struggle against the Israeli occupation.
If you're worried, why not accept their invitation to go and see what they're doing?
Yani somebody is destructing my history, and they wanted me to see this destruction in my eyes. What kind of mentality is this?
I don't think that's the case.
And he's not inviting me to a restaurant.
I have some knowledge of divided cities, Belfast, Sarajevo, where you have similar problems. I tell you what would have happened there. They would have had a completely independent engineering study. Is this wall falling down? Completely independent of both sides. Somebody who both sides trusted. Do we need to do this? Secondly, there would have been a process of consultation between both sides. Thirdly, this would have been a partnership dig. It would have been both sides together.
You're right.
Why did that happen here?
You're right. That's why we asked. And we ask them also today, come be our partner.
That's not what I hear.
Okay, okay, to the camera. Come on, come please be our partner.
Okay. But what happens if, before they started the work, the mayor had written you a letter saying, please, Mr. Husseini, come and let us have some consultation? Would you have said yes?
Not consultations. I will come to explain my point of view.
Ah.
You see?
So even if they'd asked you, you wouldn't have gone for consultations?
Consultation because this is a place that I can't accept a piece of stone to be removed from there. There is no consultation about the principle.
Do you think that this might be characterized by some people as a dialogue of the deaf?
Yes.
This seems to me mutual madness on both sides.
You see, to an outsider, it looks a bit more like the Israeli authorities acting unilaterally without proper consultation.
Okay, as I told you, and I say it again, and we'll say it again and again and again and again, we need partner here. It's not fair to say, you like to destroy the temple. Come, please, be our partner. I'm here every day.
Over the last 40 years, countless incidents on both sides have created a climate of suspicion and distrust. On the 21st of August 1969, an Australian Christian set fire to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and destroyed it. At his trial, he claimed to have been told to do so by God in order to enable the Jews to rebuild their temple. Ever since, Muslims have been convinced that he was an Israeli agent. On the 28th of July 1981, the Muslim authorities discovered a tunnel leading under the Dome of the Rock itself. Groups of religious Jews had been secretly digging. One of them was Rafi Aitan, now a government minister.
At the time, nobody knew. And I told the people with me not to tell anything to anybody.
Rafi Aitan was part of a team digging a long tunnel under the Muslim quarter of the old city to expose more of the original Western Wall.
I helped them because of my standing as advisor to the Prime Minister, and also because of my curiosity.
During the digging, they uncovered the entrance to another, more ancient passage that went under the Temple Mount itself.
According to the archaeology that I brought in, it was no doubt the tunnel for the priests. Therefore, we knew that we could be between 10 to 20 meters from the Holy of Holies. And then the Arabs came from the top and they put cement, and it is locked and blocked up to this very day.
Some people could say, Rafi, it was a very irresponsible thing to do.
Well, I'm irresponsible, but I'm a minister now. How you describe it?
You see, what I discover here is a climate of suspicion on both sides, which is preventing peace. Are you sure that your tunnel didn't contribute to the climate of suspicion that is now preventing peace?
Look, we have done nothing, only to discover the gate in the Western Wall and the door to tunnel number 30. That's all. And then the Muslim made shouting, they shouted, and the noise was a few days, and then it was out.
Ah, but the echoes of that noise have gone down the years.
Up to this very day.
Up to this very day.
Yeah, what do they say?
The Muslims say, we know they want to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We know it because they tried to tunnel.
Do you think that we wanted to destroy the Dome of the Rock?
Rafi, it isn't what I think that matters. It's what they think that matters. You know, it's perception. In this country, perceptions are more important than facts. And the perception is that your tunnel was about destroying the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's the perception.
Well, I deny it, but I can't help their imagination. Okay, so this is their problem.
And you don't feel responsible for that?
No.
In November 1996, the Muslim authorities began renovating an underground mosque on Haram al-Sharif. When they dug a new exit, many Israeli archaeologists were outraged as they claimed the excavations were deliberately destroying Jewish artifacts from the time of the First and Second Temples.
Here is several pictures showing the enormous pit which was excavated in front of the subterranean structure of Solomon's Stables. You can see the vaultings of Solomon's Stables and the southern wall of the Temple Mount. And this is the pile of dirt and the piles of the debris which were removed by approximately 400 trucks.
On a hill overlooking Jerusalem, a group of Israeli archaeologists are now sifting through the rubble from the building work.
If you want to do any action, digging, building, demolishing, anything, even to move one stone from one place to another, according to Israeli antiquity laws, in order to do it, you need a permission from the Antiquities Authority. The Muslims, for all their activities on the Temple Mount, never asked for such a permission.
I don't care who did it. This is a violation, and this criminal act was a brutal act against cultural values.
Dr. Yusuf Natche is the Muslim authorities' chief archaeologist.
You built a mosque on the Haram al-Sharif, the Marwani Mosque. Did you consult? Did you have dialogue with the Israeli authorities over this?
Actually, allow me to correct you. It's, again, the politics. No, we feel that the mosque is Muslim, and we will not consult the Israelis because we are able to do the work. This is a Muslim property sale for 1,400 years.
We have finds covering a range of about 10,000 years.
This is just one bucket load. There's an extraordinary number in there, isn't there?
This is one bucket.
Number of those.
There are objects from the entire very long history of Jerusalem. The problem is that destroying cultural values, including Islamic cultural values, by bulldozers, this is not the way. This is not the way.
You excavated, let's put it that way, the Marwani Mosque. It required a lot of excavation. It required the movement of soil which the Israelis claim has artifacts from their history. But you never consulted them.
Look, they have, this say has no foundation whatsoever.
But that's not the point, Yusuf, is it? The point is that you did this, they claim it has, and you didn't consult with them either, in any way.
It's not a matter of consultation.
But that's what the Israelis say. It's not a matter of consultation.
No.
You see?
For the last 7 years, there have been no formal contacts between Israeli and Palestinian archaeologists. In the 40-year battle for control of the city, history has become one of its most powerful political weapons.
Let me ask you as an archaeologist, are you honoring the cultural and religious values of Islam on the Maghreb Gate?
The Maghreb Gate and the slope and the path to the Maghreb Gate is not holy. It's not part of the Temple Mount. It's outside the Temple Mount.
There's a prayer room there. There's a prayer room there.
Yeah, there is no holy place there. There's
a prayer room. There's an Islamic prayer room there.
So what?
So what? You really believe so what?
It is excavated properly and it is studied properly. It is exposed as it should be done.
The room, the ancient room that was found there is still there, complete and unharmed.
I don't like your attitude and I don't like this conversation at all. I'm sorry
Gabby, I have to put both sides of this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that.
I'm seeking here to get at a balanced story. You say...
I don't want a balanced story. I want the truth.
Do you accept there existed on the Haram al-Sharif, the Temple Mount, the Jewish temple?
Look, this is a very, very sensitive case. I think also it is also affected by politics. I believe that before the Muslim advent to this area, in this city there was a very sophisticated, complicated architectural development. But Muslims in general would like to see evidences.
Okay. You see, I think what you're saying to me is something different now. I think this is, you're saying, as an archaeologist, a temple was here. But as a Palestinian within the politics of Jerusalem, I can't admit that.
Maybe...
There is a denial of the existence of the temple which is more serious than the Holocaust denial.
There's no attack on their holy places. They are not ready to admit our holy linkage to this site.
Jerusalem is the most divided city I have ever encountered. Even historians and archaeologists, civilized and educated men, are locked into this 40-year battle that has become a dialogue of the deaf.
I fear now we will go through another period of violence in Jerusalem. And unless there is a dialogue between you, I don't see how this can be solved.
I am now at the end of my investigation. In the next part, I want to try and find some building blocks, some basic ingredients that I believe might lay the foundations for a future peace. Because if peace is ever to return to the Middle East, we have to find a solution to Jerusalem's status. Over the last 4 months, I've been investigating the world's holiest city, Jerusalem, and why it is at the center of a bitter conflict that threatens the future peace of the Middle East. 40 years ago, the Israelis conquered the whole city and brought it under Jewish rule for the first time in 2,000 years. Israeli photographer David Rubinger witnessed the city's capture on the 7th of June, 1967.
And is Jerusalem more divided or less divided?
Well, I said to somebody recently, it wasn't very well received. They said, in order for Jerusalem to be unified, really, it has to be divided again. Now it's unified by force. It should be unified by free will.
For Jerusalem's Palestinian inhabitants, the last 40 years have been a long and hostile occupation. Within days of the city's conquest in 1967, Aisha Masloui saw her family home destroyed by the Israeli army.
Would Jerusalem be Jerusalem if there were no Jews here, if there were no Christians here, if it was just Arab?
No, for us.
Yes.
For us, if we have Christians or we have Jewish, it's okay. We can be good friends.
So you can share Jerusalem?
Of course, no problem at all. But they can't share us.
To attempt to come up with a complete blueprint for peace, of the sort that has eluded the world's peace negotiators for the last 60 years, would be foolish.
But now I'm back in Britain. I want to try and identify a few of the ingredients from which peace in Jerusalem, when it eventually comes, might be made.
First, we have to accept that the problem of Jerusalem lies at the heart of the whole Arab-Israeli conflict. But in almost every previous peace negotiation, the status of Jerusalem has been left to last.
But this, I think, is the wrong approach. In any broader Middle East peace settlement, Jerusalem should be tackled not last, but first.
I think a solution for Jerusalem is doable. And it's doable either by one city, two capitals, two capitals, one city, two municipalities with another municipality, whatever arrangements. All the arrangements the day after is doable and possible because I want the Israelis to be my partners in the future and they want me to be their partner. So Jerusalem, in my deliberations and negotiations, turned out to be doable more than any of the other issues that has to be done at the same time.
I don't know. I cannot make prediction. For us, Jerusalem is, in a way, the essence of why we came here. It's our birthplace. I think that the answer is not about mechanics, whether Jerusalem is put to the end or at first. It's about the nature of our counterparts. If our counterparts were basically ready to recognize the right of Israel to exist as a democratic Jewish state, there was a basis for honest and fair negotiations.
Second, before anything else happens, there needs to be a recognition that Jerusalem has a shared history.
Both sides must accept the other's right to exist. Both must also accept that terrible things have been done, crimes have been committed by both sides, such as the massacre of Jews by Arabs at Gush Etzion and the massacre of Palestinians by Jews at Deir Yassin.
If we are to condemn Kfar Etzion, which we must do as a massacre, we must also condemn Deir Yassin, must we not?
I don't like this comparison. In Deir Yassin, as you claim, they were not captive prisoners, as was the case in Kfar Etzion. This was a war, and in war, sometimes civilians, women and children are harmed.
60 years on, I pray to Allah to compensate us for our property, and that peace will prevail between us and them, so that we can live side by side like we did before.
Many of Jerusalem's worst problems stem from the determination of one side to claim exclusive ownership of the city.
It is possible for us to agree on a symbolism that will allow us to live in peace. I don't think that that's out of reach. Religious symbolism can be used in two ways. It can be used as a source of conflict, or it can also be used to underline what Muslims and Jews and Christians share. By stressing the idea of the common father of the Jews and the Arabs of Abraham, instead of looking at this city as a symbol of conflict, let us look at it as the place where all of our traditions began.
Jerusalem is sacred to 3 billion Jews, Christians and Muslims, and is a capital for 7 million Israelis and 9.5 million Palestinians worldwide.
This place is not exclusively Jewish, or Muslim, or Christian, that it has to be open to everybody.
Jonathan Kutab is a prominent human rights lawyer and a Palestinian Christian.
No solution can be found if any religion or group claims exclusivity, that this is ours and ours alone. Jerusalem must be open, must be available, must be welcoming and hospitable to all its population, and indeed to all the faithful throughout the world. The late King Hussein used to say the solution to the problem of sovereignty in Jerusalem is to declare that God is the only sovereign in Jerusalem and we are all his children.
So, thirdly, there has to be an understanding that just as Jerusalem cannot be owned by one people, it also cannot be owned by one God.
What this means is sharing the spiritual space, the holy real estate. Places such as the Haram al-Sharif or Temple Mount, sacred to both Jews and Muslims.
As an Orthodox Jew, I would say that Jews and Muslims, and for that matter Christians, have to recognize that owning a piece of real estate doesn't give you ownership over the truth.
I have witnessed all over the world how religion can be used as a weapon to create and intensify conflict. But that need not be the case. Instead of always being the problem, surely religion can help provide a solution.
We have to ask ourselves the questions of what does God want more, for us to own the real estate or to be seeking peace with other human beings. As a religious person, I think that the answer clearly is that we should be seeking peace.
Fourthly, what is needed for peace is a status quo agreement for all the holy places in Jerusalem, a joint forum for day-to-day conflict resolution, and an end to the disastrous dialogue of the deaf that operates today.
And a template already exists in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, with its 240-year-old status quo agreement. What the city needs is a single body to manage all of its holy sites, jointly controlled by all of the three faiths. Then there is the scandalous policy of discrimination against Jerusalem's Palestinian inhabitants. Not only is this inhuman and unjust, it is also stupid, as it will only provoke more conflict, and in its aim to maintain a 76% Jewish majority in the city, it has already failed.
If we look at the ratio today, we can come to the only conclusion that this plan is a complete failure. Because today the ratio is entirely different. Today something like 69% Jews and 31% Palestinians. There was a plan to make Jerusalem much more Jewish, but it failed.
It's been estimated that by 2020, Palestinians will be 40% of the population of Jerusalem, and rising. So surely it would make more sense to accept the inevitable now that both Israelis and Palestinians have a right to live in Jerusalem and to be treated equally and fairly.
So the fifth ingredient for a peaceful solution might be a charter of rights for all the citizens of Jerusalem, Israeli and Palestinian. One that delivers equality of treatment throughout the city, in housing, in services, in access.
Next, we have to consider one of Jerusalem's most depressing and divisive sites, the security wall that now surrounds the city. Walls do not provide security. They didn't in Belfast, they didn't in Berlin, and they won't in Jerusalem. Today, security, real security, only comes when you recognize that you share a common destiny with your enemy.
Are we breeding new suicide bombers in there?
We are. But it's what happens when you squeeze all hope out of people. They tend to despair,
to destruction and to self-destruction.
And is this wall squeezing all hope out of Jerusalem?
Very clearly.
So if we are to have a sustainable peace, the wall must come down as part of a broad agreement which includes a firm and binding commitment to end all terror attacks on Israeli citizens.
I condemn any violence against Israelis, and I want to solve my problem with Israelis through peaceful means, through negotiations.
Peace is like tango, it takes two. So I'm ready, I never lost my appetite to mental readiness to take risk if I think that the reward might be worth it, however risky it could be.
In the two other bloody conflicts of which I have experience, the Balkans and Northern Ireland, peace did eventually come.
That which fell down and was destroyed can be rebuilt.
Hatred can be mended in the human heart. Sworn enemies can find peace. In March 2007, Jerry Adams and the Reverend Ian Paisley, after 38 years of bloody conflict, were able to agree to share power in Northern Ireland.
I want to begin my remarks by welcoming the statement by Ian Paisley.
Finally, we need to realize that building peace is a process, not an event. There are a few simple steps we could take to start that process. Putting Jerusalem first in any peace negotiations, the acceptance of a shared history and a shared city, a status quo agreement that covers all the holy places, a charter of rights for all Jerusalem citizens, and an end to the wall and the terror that created it. If those simple steps are followed, then peace in Jerusalem might just have a chance.